McLaren will enter the 2021 season off the back of their most successful season in F1 since 2012. The momentum they generated in 2020 would be more than enough to hope for a repeat in 2021, but McLaren also had the luxury of a brand new engine supplier and a new driver to get excited about. For the first time since 2014, McLaren will be powered by Mercedes engines in what was a very successful partnership in the late 90s for the Woking team. With the departure of Carlos Sainz to Ferrari, McLaren have filled his shoes quite well with perennial Grand Prix winner Daniel Ricciardo. This season's driver lineup of Ricciardo and Lando Norris is one that fans cannot wait to see. I would probably say more so for their off-track antics, but putting that aside for a minute, it is a formidable driver lineup in what is an extremely competitive midfield. With a 10-year age gap between the two, can Ricciardo and Norris gel together and bring McLaren back to their winning ways? Well, to see if we can find an answer to that question, let's take a look at the teammate tail of the tape at McLaren for 2021. Coming off of his best season of Formula 1 in which he finished 9th in the Drivers' Championship, Lando Norris' task doesn't get easier as he welcomes his new teammate Ricciardo to McLaren. In 2 seasons at McLaren, Norris was unable to beat Carlos Sainz in the championship, although he was much closer to him in 2020. It was a breakthrough year for Norris as he scored his first career podium, first career fastest lap, and a top 4 grid start all in the span of a shortened season. Entering his 3rd year of Formula 1, Norris will have to up his game even more if he wants to keep up with this new Aussie teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Let's see how the two stack up against each other in our tail of the tape. There is a significant difference in Grand Prix experience as Ricciardo is entering his 10th season of Formula 1 and has 150 more races under his belt than Norris. It's been a few years since Ricciardo has lifted the number 1 trophy in F1, so some may have forgotten that Ricciardo was a proven race winner and championship contender in the right car. The Honey Badger brings 7 victories to McLaren along with 31 podiums, 2 of which came last season in his final year for Renault. When it comes to teammate battles, the numbers are a little bit more even in this edition of the tail of the tape. Ricciardo has been able to outqualify his teammates in F1 62% of the time versus Norris's 53%. Ricciardo is able to outrace his opponents a little over half the time at 56%, while his younger teammate Norris is just below that mark at 45%. Now, some of those numbers are a little bit skewed on Norris' side due to less Grand Prix entered, but those are some still solid numbers for the young Brit, considering he was going against Carlos Sainz for 2 seasons. With that being said, Norris was still outraced consistently by Sainz in 2 seasons while the qualifying battle was much closer. Another thing that's interesting going into this season is that McLaren are in a unique position in which they are the only team this season that's effectively building a new car. The switch to a Mercedes power unit is not a seamless one and has required McLaren to make a lot of changes to accommodate their new engine. Quote, "It's driven a huge amount of change, and essentially, we've been building a new car," said McLaren production director Piers Tyne. The number of new parts on the MCL 35M is about the same as when we built the MCL 35. It will be interesting to see how smooth the transition to a new power unit will be at McLaren. It is another challenge both drivers will have to face this season, as the car will be quite different from 2020's. But now let's take a look at each driver individually and what they bring to McLaren. Daniel Ricciardo didn't see enough progress at 2 years with Renault, so he decided to jump ship to another midfield team on the rise. Let's remember back to 2018 when McLaren were eager to sign Ricciardo when his contract was expiring. But at that time, McLaren were in a much different place, and Ricciardo just didn't see a future there. Much has changed, however, in the last 3 years, and who knows, maybe Ricciardo should have joined McLaren in the first place. Not since Fernando Alonso left the team has McLaren had an experienced race winner in the cockpit of their car. Along with his 7 race victories, Ricciardo's resume includes 3 pole positions and a best championship result of 3rd place. He's a consistent top 6 finisher and solid qualifier, reaching Q3 129 times out of 188 attempts. After spending 7 years with Renault Power behind his back, Ricciardo will drive a Mercedes-powered car for the first time in his career. This will be an added bonus to Ricciardo's McLaren outlook, as he has suffered some horrible reliability with Renault engines in the past. Considering Mercedes' stranglehold on the turbo hybrid era, it's pretty safe to say that this is an upgrade in both reliability and power. After failing to secure a seat in one of the top teams like Ferrari and Mercedes, Ricciardo will be looking to build a championship contender at McLaren. At 31 years of age, he's certainly still got time, but with modern F1 favoring the younger talent, you've got the sense that this might be Ricciardo's last chance to achieve his dreams. I'm a firm believer that Ricciardo is on the short list of championship-quality drivers on the grid at the moment. With the right machinery under him, I think he can beat the best on any given day as he's shown in the past. Whether he'll get the chance to do that at McLaren in the future is an unknown, but he makes McLaren a far better team, and I'm sure they can't wait to begin working together. Often overlooked because of his joyful social media personality and likable qualities, Lando Norris is a super competitive Grand Prix driver. Over 2 years at McLaren, Norris was able to outqualify Carlos Sainz 20-18 in their head-to-head battle. He struggled a little more in terms of race pace as Sainz outpointed Norris by 55 points during their partnership at McLaren. It certainly doesn't get any easier for the young Brit as he will be going up against one of the best drivers on the grid at the moment in Daniel Ricciardo. Norris is a consistent top 10 finisher who made quite the breakthrough last season, scoring his first podium in the very first race of the year. His best championship finish of 9th also came last season, and he had a strong record of reaching Q3 so far in his F1 career. Now entering his third year of Formula 1, Norris will need to take a big leap in order to match his teammate on a consistent basis. It would be fair to assume that Ricciardo is coming in as the number 1 driver because of his pedigree, but Norris must get off to a strong start in order to stake his claim and show McLaren that it is in fact he who can lead this team for the future. Last lap Lando will certainly enjoy the new Mercedes power behind him, and I'm sure all the new Scenario 7s that come with it. I also think Norris will have a slight advantage over Ricciardo in terms of just being familiar with the steering wheel, the car itself, and just the general McLaren team. We know last time Daniel Ricciardo switched teams, it took him some time to get adjusted to the new car, so this is where Norris can possibly gain an advantage in their head-to-head this season. Ever since this driver lineup got announced, it's been pretty clear that these two would get along pretty well as teammates. We've already seen them share a ton of laughs together in press conferences and social media, so it's safe to say I'm not really worried about their off-track relationship. Now in terms of racing, I think Ricciardo and Norris will work great together. Both drivers are incredibly competitive, yet fair when it comes to wheel-to-wheel combat. In his early days of Formula 1, we didn't see much on-track antics between Norris and his teammate Sainz, which is a positive for a team like McLaren who can ill afford DNFs due to teammate crashes. With that in mind, Ricciardo and Norris can work together on this project to bring McLaren back to the top of F1. Considering the super competitive midfield, it's in the best interest of the team to have both drivers delivering at a high level, as 2021 is going to be super close in the midfield pack. Of course, questions surround the new MCL 35M and the Mercedes engine integration, but that's something that's out of the control of these two drivers. Out of all the new teammate pairings in 2021, I feel this has the potential for the most success and the least amount of headaches for their team. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of laughs out of these two during the season, but when it comes to the racing, it'll be no laughing matter for their opponents when Ricciardo licks the stamp and sends it down the inside for a podium finish. Let's hope there'll be plenty of those for McLaren in 2021 for not just Ricciardo, but also Lando Norris as well. What do you think about the head-to-head matchup between Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris for 2021? Who do you think will come out on top, and what are your expectations in general for the McLaren team this season? Remember to leave your thoughts down below, and we'll try and get back to many of you as possible. In the meantime, if you haven't checked out the first Tail of the Tape video, check it out in the description below as we take a look at the Aston Martin partnership between Vettel and Stroll. Thanks for watching today, and we'll see you soon for the next video on our channel. Until then, take care.